In the profound teachings of Buddhism, life is not a linear path with a definite end, but a continuous cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, known as samsara. According to this wisdom, every soul journeys through countless lives, gathering karma, learning essential lessons, and evolving through each experience. However, there is a sacred belief that some souls reach their final incarnation, the end of their earthly journey, after lifetimes of growth and awakening. If you are watching this video, it may not be a coincidence. You may be sensing something deep within yourself, a quiet calling or a shift that feels different. Buddhism teaches that the last life cycle is a rare and sacred experience. When a soul is nearing the completion of its karmic journey, subtle yet powerful signs begin to manifest. These signs are not always obvious or dramatic. In fact, they often appear in the form of profound realizations, emotional awakenings, or intuitive insights that whisper rather than shout. You may begin to feel disconnected from worldly concerns, more attuned to the suffering of others, or even begin to remember things you never consciously learned. In this video, we are going to explore 9 powerful signs that suggest you are in your final reincarnation, your last life before reaching enlightenment or nirvana. These insights, rooted in Buddhist wisdom, may confirm what your soul has quietly suspected for some time. So, stay with us as we uncover the hidden clues from the universe, your karma, and your consciousness. Whether you resonate with one sign or all 9, you will come away with a deeper understanding of where you are on your soul's journey, and perhaps a deeper purpose for your life here and now. Get ready to listen, not just with your mind, but with your soul. 1. A deep sense of detachment. One of the most compelling signs that you may be in your last life cycle is a profound and unshakable sense of detachment. But this is not the kind of detachment that comes from apathy, depression, or burnout. It is something much deeper. It is the realization that everything around you, status, possessions, people, experiences, is temporary. It does not mean you do not care. Instead, you begin to care from a place that does not involve clinging, control, or fear of loss. In Buddhist philosophy, detachment is not about withdrawing from the world, but rather seeing it clearly without illusion. When you're nearing the end of your reincarnation journey, your soul begins to recognize that nothing outside of you can truly fulfill or define you. You may find that you are no longer drawn to drama, material goals, or even certain relationships. Things that once excited or enraged you now pass through you without triggering intense emotion. This kind of detachment allows for inner peace. It becomes easier to accept life's ups and downs because you see them as part of a greater dance, a play of karma unfolding. This is what many monks and enlightened beings describe: a state of observing without being entangled, of loving without possessing, and of living without fear. You might even feel like a witness to your own life, as if you're watching events unfold with a kind of quiet curiosity, rather than being consumed by them. And people may notice this about you. They may say you're calm under pressure, hard to offend, or wise beyond your years. That's because your soul is starting to remember that it has been here many times before, and it's almost time to go home. This deep detachment is not about being cold or distant. It's the opposite. It's about being fully present, yet free. When your identity is no longer wrapped in ego, labels, or outcomes, you finally begin to taste what it means to be liberated. If you've been feeling this way, more like a calm observer than an emotional reactor, then your soul may be signaling, this is your final lap around the wheel of life. 2. A strong pull towards spirituality. Another powerful indicator that you may be in your final reincarnation is an intense and undeniable pull towards spirituality, not religion, but true inner awakening. This is not about following dogma or tradition blindly. It is about a craving to connect with the divine in a personal, intimate, and transformative way. People in their final life cycle often report that they began questioning the nature of existence from a very young age. While others were focused on fitting in, succeeding in school, or chasing relationships, you may have found yourself wondering, why am I here? What happens after death? What is the purpose of all this suffering? These are not ordinary questions. They are the stirrings of an awakened soul. This spiritual pull often leads people to explore meditation, mindfulness, sacred texts, or even mystical practices. You might feel drawn to ancient philosophies like Buddhism, Vedanta, or Taoism. But it is not about collecting knowledge. You are searching for something real, an experience of the divine, the eternal, the source. You may have gone through a period of spiritual awakening, where everything you once believed was turned upside down. Perhaps you experienced a dark night of the soul, where the emptiness of the world became unbearable until you turned inward and found peace within. These are signs that your karma is almost burned up and your soul is longing to return to its purest form. You might also notice that your energy naturally rises around sacred places, deep nature, or even when you are alone in silence. Crowds, superficial conversations, and noisy distractions might feel more draining than ever before. That is because your frequency is shifting. You're no longer resonating with the lower vibrations of materialism or ego. You are now aligned with truth, compassion, and presence. This spiritual magnetism cannot be explained logically. It feels like a calling, like something within you is being remembered rather than learned. And that is exactly what it is. According to Buddhist teachings, when a soul nears its final life, it begins to remember its true nature, pure awareness, beyond birth and death. If you feel that your entire life is pointing you inward, urging you to awaken, then listen closely. That is not just curiosity. That may be your soul preparing for liberation. 3. Recurring dreams of enlightenment or death. Dreams are often dismissed as random, meaningless brain activity. But in many spiritual traditions, including Buddhism, dreams are considered a window into the deeper layers of consciousness, sometimes even into past lives or spiritual truths. If you are in your final life cycle, one of the clearest signs is having recurring dreams about death, spiritual rebirth, or even moments of awakening that feel more real than waking life itself. These dreams are not nightmares. Instead, they often carry a peaceful or mysterious tone. You might dream of dying, but without fear or panic, only acceptance. Or you might see yourself walking through a door, flying into the light, meditating under a sacred tree, or meeting a wise being who tells you it is almost time. These are not just symbolic. They are your soul communicating directly with you, bypassing your waking mind. In Buddhism, death is not the end. It is a transition. And when you start dreaming of death frequently, especially with calmness, clarity, or spiritual insight, it often signifies that your soul is preparing for a major transition. Not just a physical one, but a liberation from the cycle of rebirth altogether. On the other hand, some people in their last life experience lucid dreams, where they feel completely conscious and in control. In these states, they may meditate, seek answers, or visit realms that do not resemble the physical world. You may wake up from these dreams with tears, with peace, or with a lingering feeling that you've touched something eternal. These dreams are also deeply personal. You might not be able to explain them to others, but they stay with you like a quiet knowing. Sometimes they return again and again, like chapters of a story unfolding. It's as if your subconscious is gently preparing you, reminding you that there is nothing to fear because the cycle is nearing its end. The ego may still resist, but your higher self already knows. Freedom is near. If you have been experiencing vivid, recurring, or meaningful dreams related to death, light, ancient places, or spiritual guides, you are not just dreaming, you are remembering. And those memories may be your soul's final preparation for release from the wheel of samsara. 4. Unshakable inner peace amid chaos. Have you ever felt calm while everything around you was falling apart? When others panic, complain, or become consumed by fear, do you find yourself watching from a place of deep stillness? This isn't emotional numbness or denial. It is unshakable inner peace, and it is a powerful sign that your soul is in its final life cycle. In Buddhist thought, enlightenment is not about escaping the world, but becoming fully present within it, without being disturbed by its storms. Most people are reactive by nature. When life throws them a challenge, their emotions rise and fall like waves in a storm. But when a soul is nearing the end of its karmic journey, something profound changes. The chaos no longer controls you. You begin to act rather than react. You feel deeply, but you are no longer held hostage by your feelings. This peace often feels unfamiliar at first. You may even question yourself. Why am I not freaking out like everyone else? Why do I feel so calm when things go wrong? But this is not a flaw. It is a sign. Your soul has already been through countless lifetimes of drama, attachment, gain, and loss. And now, it simply refuses to be tossed around anymore. You may also notice that people begin coming to you in times of crisis. They sense your calm presence, your grounded nature, your wisdom. You become the one others turn to, not because you have all the answers, but because your energy speaks of something greater. Clarity, stillness, and trust in the unfolding of life. This inner peace also means you no longer need to control everything. You have surrendered to the flow of life. You trust karma to unfold as it must. And even when life hurts, you see it as part of the greater teaching, a lesson your soul chose to learn. When you've reached this level of peace, it's often because your soul has let go of resistance. You're no longer trying to force life to fit your expectations. Instead, you flow with it. You breathe through it. You rise above it. This kind of calm is not learned overnight. It is earned through lifetimes, and when it arises naturally within you, it may be the clearest sign yet. Your journey through the cycle of rebirth is coming to a close. 5. Feeling like an old soul. If you've ever been told you're wise beyond your years, or if you've always felt older on the inside than the world around you suggests, you may be an old soul, and that, in Buddhist terms, is a major clue you are nearing the end of your reincarnation cycle. Feeling like an old soul goes far beyond being mature or well-behaved. It is the inner experience of having been here before, many times. You may look around at life and feel a strange sense of déjà vu, not because of a single event, but because the entire human experience feels familiar. Joy, loss, desire, love, disappointment, they all seem to echo something your soul already understands. It's as if you're walking a road you've walked many times, just in a different body. Old souls are deeply introspective. You likely find yourself thinking about purpose, meaning, and truth far more often than the average person. While your peers might be focused on external achievements, you're more drawn to internal evolution. You value connection over popularity, wisdom over knowledge, presence over productivity. And this isn't something you learned, it's something you remembered. That's the difference. People in their final life often carry the energy of accumulated wisdom. You might feel inexplicably tired of certain things: shallow conversations, mindless consumerism, constant stimulation. These things no longer satisfy you because you've experienced them in many forms, and they've lost their appeal. You crave depth. You crave truth. You crave silence, simplicity, and peace. This old soul feeling also brings a unique kind of loneliness. Not the loneliness of being without people, but the kind of cosmic homesickness that comes from knowing Earth is not your final destination. You walk through life with love and compassion, but a quiet awareness hums beneath it all. You're almost done. Others might misunderstand you. They might think you're aloof or disconnected. But deep down, you know your soul has simply outgrown many of the games the world plays. You're not better than anyone else. You're just further along the path, and you've learned that peace, not power, is the final prize. If this resonates deeply, if you've always felt older than your age, wiser than your experience, and more detached than your surroundings, then your soul is likely whispering, "This is your last return." 6. A constant desire to serve others. One of the most powerful signs that you are in your final reincarnation is an unwavering desire to help others, not out of obligation or to be praised, but from a deep, soul-level calling. This desire is not about being a hero or gaining recognition. It's about easing the suffering of others because you truly feel their pain as your own. In Buddhist philosophy, compassion, karuna, is the highest expression of spiritual maturity. And when a soul nears the end of its karmic journey, it radiates this compassion naturally. You may find that helping people isn't something you plan, it's just who you are. Whether it's giving your time, listening to someone in distress, mentoring others, or even choosing a career that revolves around healing or support, you feel most alive when you're of service. This is not to say that you're always cheerful or that helping others is easy. In fact, you may feel exhausted at times. But even in your fatigue, there is fulfillment. Something in you knows that every act of kindness, every moment of generosity, helps dissolve the final strands of karma, keeping you tied to the cycle of rebirth. You might also notice that people naturally open up to you. Strangers tell you their problems. Friends say they feel safe around you. This is no accident. Your energy emits peace, and your presence soothes others without effort. This is because your soul has walked their path. You've lived through countless lifetimes of pain, confusion, and growth, and now you are a lighthouse in the storm, whether you realize it or not. What's more interesting is that you likely feel fulfilled not by what you get, but by what you give. You may have little desire for fame, wealth, or power. Instead, you are more interested in meaning, healing, and impact. This shift in values is not just personality, it is soul maturity. In Buddhism, a person who reaches this level is said to embody the bodhisattva spirit, the being who returns not for personal gain, but to uplift others until all are free. But if you feel that this is your final life, this desire to serve may come with a knowing. You're completing your service here. And with every selfless act, you are stepping closer to liberation. 7. Seeing through the illusion of ego. One of the most transformative signs that your soul is nearing the end of its reincarnation journey is the ability to see through the illusion of ego. This does not mean you have no identity or personality. It means you no longer believe that you are your identity, your story, or your emotions. You begin to witness your life rather than be ruled by it. In Buddhist wisdom, the ego is seen as the false self, a collection of attachments, fears, roles, and desires that convince us we are separate from others, from the divine, and even from ourselves. Most people live their entire lives trapped in this illusion, constantly chasing validation, approval, and status. But when your soul has lived many lifetimes and is approaching the final one, it starts to awaken to a radical truth. The ego is not real. You may find that you're less reactive when someone criticizes you. You no longer need to win arguments or prove your worth. Achievements and titles start to lose their grip on your sense of value. And even painful memories or emotional triggers begin to dissolve. Not because you forget them, but because you realize they do not define who you are. This awakening often happens gradually. You might catch yourself watching your thoughts, almost like an observer standing apart from your mind. You begin to ask, who is thinking this thought? Who is feeling this emotion? And in that pause, a quiet awareness arises, one that is free from judgment, identity, or fear. That awareness is your true self. In Buddhism, this is known as pure consciousness, the part of you that is beyond name, form, or story. And once you taste this awareness, even for a moment, you will never be the same. You will begin to see others differently too. You'll recognize that the anger, vanity, or fear in others is just their ego playing its game. And instead of judging them, you feel compassion, because you remember when you were lost in that illusion too. To see through the ego is not just spiritual progress, it is a sign of nearing completion. The soul that no longer clings to I, me, and mine is a soul on the edge of enlightenment. And once this illusion fully dissolves, what remains is pure freedom. 8. Rejection of materialism and status. In a world that constantly tells you to chase more money, more possessions, more recognition, one of the clearest signs that you may be in your last life cycle is your quiet, unwavering rejection of materialism and status. You simply do not care about accumulating things, nor do you define your worth by what you own or how others perceive you. Instead, you long for simplicity, truth, and a life of inner richness. From a Buddhist perspective, attachment is one of the primary causes of suffering. And materialism is rooted in attachment. Attachment to comfort, identity, control, and ego. But when your soul has experienced life after life of chasing wealth, fame, beauty, and success, it finally begins to see the pattern for what it is, a distraction from truth. You might find yourself feeling increasingly out of place in a consumer-driven society. Shopping sprees, luxury brands, social media likes, none of it feels real to you anymore. You may even feel a sense of sadness or emptiness when you see others obsessing over status symbols, knowing they are chasing shadows. Not because you feel superior, but because you remember what it was like to think those things could bring lasting peace. Your values begin to shift. You prefer fewer things, but with more meaning. You might enjoy nature over nightlife, quiet time over parties, and presence over performance. This doesn't mean you live in poverty or renounce all possessions, but your relationship with the material world changes. You own things without being owned by them. Even your goals may become simpler. Instead of striving to be the best, you strive to be true. Instead of climbing ladders, you choose stillness. Instead of being impressive, you aim to be authentic. And that shift is a sign of a soul that is ready to transcend the earthly game altogether. This rejection of materialism is not about apathy or laziness. It is a spiritual awakening. You realize that happiness is not something you can buy or earn. It is something you uncover by removing the clutter, the noise, and the lies of a world built on illusion. When you no longer crave what others chase, when success no longer tempts you away from peace, and when your idea of rich is internal, not external, that's when you know your soul has almost fulfilled its journey. 9. A deep knowing that you're not coming back. The final and perhaps most profound sign that you are in your last life cycle is an unshakable inner knowing, a quiet, deeply rooted certainty that this lifetime will be your last on the cycle of birth and death. This knowing is not always loud or dramatic. Often, it feels like a whisper beneath the noise of everyday life, a gentle presence that grows stronger with time. In Buddhist philosophy, this stage reflects a soul that has completed the necessary karmic lessons and is now poised for liberation or nirvana. The cycle of samsara, the endless loop of reincarnation driven by attachment and ignorance, is about to be broken. This knowing brings with it a profound sense of peace, even in the face of life's inevitable challenges. You might find yourself thinking less about the future or the past and more about the present moment, with a sense of gratitude and acceptance that transcends ordinary experience. The urge to cling to identity, relationships, or worldly concerns begins to fade because you understand, at a soul level, that they are temporary. This knowing often comes with a feeling of homesickness, not for a place on earth, but for a spiritual home beyond this physical world. It's as if your soul remembers a place of boundless light and love that is waiting for you once this journey ends. This sign can manifest as a deep surrender to life and death. You no longer fear death. Instead, you embrace it as a return to your true nature. You may even feel moments of joy or anticipation at the thought of crossing over, rather than dread or anxiety. Sometimes, people describe this as a sacred sense of completion. You feel whole, even if your life circumstances are imperfect. You recognize that everything you have experienced has prepared you for this moment of freedom. If you feel this deep knowing, this quiet but persistent certainty that your soul will not return again, it is a gift. It means your journey is nearing its glorious end. You are on the threshold of liberation, ready to awaken fully beyond the cycle of rebirth. Recognizing these 9 signs within yourself is not just an intellectual exercise, it is a profound invitation to awaken. The teachings of Buddhism remind us that life is a sacred journey of growth, learning, and ultimately, liberation. If you resonate with these signs, the deep detachment, the pull towards spirituality, the recurring dreams, the inner peace amid chaos, the feeling of being an old soul, the desire to serve, seeing through ego, rejecting materialism, and the deep knowing that you are not coming back, then you may be standing at the threshold of your final life cycle. This moment is precious and rare. It is an opportunity to live with heightened awareness, compassion, and purpose. Instead of fearing the end, you can embrace it as the beginning of ultimate freedom, the release from the endless cycles of birth and death. Your journey so far has been long and rich, filled with lessons that have shaped your soul. Now, it is time to live fully in the present, to deepen your spiritual practice, and to prepare for the final liberation that awaits. If this video has touched something deep within you, consider subscribing for more wisdom on the path of awakening. Share your thoughts and experiences below. Your story may inspire others walking the same path. Remember, your soul's journey is sacred, and if you are truly in your last life cycle, every moment holds the possibility of enlightenment.